Hello everyone and welcome to the Boopcast episode 22. We are your hosts SheNoob and
Cory.
I did it the wrong way again. I keep doing it. I just can't not do it the wrong way. Hi William, fought my way through Twitch being buggy. Yeah, Twitch is having issues. I had to refresh a lot of times before like the viewer count even showed up. Yeah, so that's nice. Twitch is having issues. And XSplit's having issues, and like I had to reopen everything in the program because it had all disappeared. So that was wonderful. But anyway, welcome. And we're going to chat about Chapter 7. And it's just us this week because this is mid-season finale. And it was very short. And there's not a lot to talk about, so...
Yeah.
It's just us. I'm tired.
I'm sick, so this is gonna be a disaster.
Yeah, Cory's unwell. His sister came home for Thanksgiving from school and made everybody ill. Thanks, Bailey!
Yeah. Sid's still not sick, though. That's the only good thing.
She always has, like, a delayed reaction whenever you guys get sick.
Yeah, she's avoiding us like the plague, though, so...
Yeah. Okay, so... Chapter 7. That was a thing. So, this chapter, not only was it very, very short, but it was a nice break from the constant emotional trauma we've been well, not trauma. In a good way, trauma we've been experiencing over the last 3 chapters. Although, chapter 5, not so much. But chapters 4 and 6, definitely. I swore that I was not going to cry this week during my reaction, and I didn't, which is good. I was laughing a lot instead, so that was nice. This chapter's titled, God, what was it called again?
Rest and Resolutions, I think.
Rest and Resolutions, that's right. And I feel like this is definitely the calm before the storm for Ruby.
Yeah, it felt like it.
There are people watching, they're just not in chat. Yeah, so I mean, you're the one who's got notes, you may as well just start. I'm disorganized. What a surprise.
Yeah. I know. The first thing I have in my notes is that I'm glad that we actually see them filling each other in on the events of Volume 4, because, like, you know, you had issues earlier with the season when Blake was talking about, or no, it was when Team Ranger knew who Raven was.
Yeah, that was never shown on screen, and I was like, how do they know? Yeah, exactly. No, I'm glad that they showed them discussing events that had happened to them while they were apart. Yeah.
And it just made sense that they did it over dinner.
Yeah. That ramen bowl looked so good. I was like, oh my goodness, that is a delicious looking pot of noodles. Thank you. Mum's here with the cook.
Ren's a good cook.
Ren is a good cook. I wonder where he picked that up from.
I mean, him and Nora had to survive for a while.
Yeah, it's true. I
didn't really get the impression
about their lives after the fall of Kurayuri.
Yeah, because I didn't get the impression that they were people who necessarily, like, went to, like, a foster home.
No.
Or something. Like,
there was so much food. Yeah, there was a lot. 6 people. Good lord.
But yeah, but it's still, like, they had to have done... it confuses me because they had to, at some point, be able to afford, like, the ability to create their weapons and to go to combat school and stuff. So, like, did they have, like, jobs? Or, like... I'm always... They're the two I'm most interested in, because it's like, how did they... Like, we saw how they met. But how the hell did they get to Beacon? Like,
yeah, no, there's so much time, like, unaccounted for. William, what the fuck are you doing here if you haven't seen the episode? Go watch it and come back. It's gonna take you like 12 minutes. Go watch it. You're gonna get spoiled.
Yeah, William. Seriously, it's been out. It's been out 3 days. How?
He's not a first member, but it is out today. So go watch it and then come back.
Oh, William isn't a first member? I thought he was.
I don't know. Are you? I don't think he is. Hi, Unicorn of War. Huntsman Academies might be tuition free. They kind of need people to kill the Grim. That's a good point.
Good point. But still, like, they had to be able to afford to make their weapons.
Yeah, it's true. There has to be, like, I assume their parents paid for their tuitions while they're at the combat schools and that. But then you've got people like Blake who went to Beacon off her own back. Her parents definitely didn't pay for anything, so...
Yeah, that's true.
I wonder what the story is with that.
But still, I feel like schools like Signal wouldn't be free.
Oh,
because, like... Yeah, it's stuff like that. It's like, okay, so maybe the Huntsman Academies are places that it's like you just need to pass the rigorous exam to get in. But places like Signal, I feel like those are like private schools. I mean, they're basically private military schools. So, like, I feel like those are places you would have to. And who knows, maybe just Ren and Nora on their travels just learned how to kill Grim.
I could see the Huntsman Academies being, like, funded by the public, but I couldn't see the combat schools being funded by the public, because there's significantly more of them. There's only 4 Huntsman Academies, 1 for each kingdom. And I could see the kingdoms financing the Huntsman Academies, because they need the Huntsmen to protect them. But, with the combat schools, you know, we don't know exactly how many there are, but there's definitely more than 4. So, I doubt...
I mean, like, they have the Mistral Regional Tournament. So,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
if everyone goes to... If all of the Mistral region goes to the same, like, combat school, it doesn't really make sense that, you know...
That it's called a regional tournament. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, why wouldn't they just call it the, you know, the Sanctum Tournament or whatever?
Oh, William says he bought a first account in time for Chapter 6. He can't watch the episode because RT's site is blocked in the school Wi-Fi.
Ah.
But anyway, yeah. Well, probably you're going to get huge spoilers, so just full disclosure. Yeah, so it was so incredibly nice to have the dynamic of these 6 people back. It's something I have missed about the show, definitely, is Team Juniper and Team Ruby's dynamic, even though not all of them are there. But the energy that comes off of them as they're feeding off of each other and learning about each other's lives in the past, 12 months or so, is really, like... It translates to the viewer, I think. As you're watching it, there's like a real energy about this first scene in this episode. It was like a Ruby Thanksgiving, exactly.
Yeah. That's probably why they did it at this time. Like, we thought we weren't getting an episode because it was Thanksgiving. But it turns out they probably made it on Thanksgiving because they were like...
Yeah.
Hey?
Here's this quirky little family of 6 kids eating all this ramen. Go! Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just really nice, and especially, like, knowing that they have missed each other a lot and are just so excited to be back together, and I want to tell you about everything that's happened in my life, like, kind of thing. Everybody can relate to that, I think, when they see a friend they haven't seen in a very, very long time, and they just want to tell them everything that's happened. Yeah, so... It was extremely reminiscent of my own family Thanksgivings. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that was very deliberate. So, I found it interesting, the placement of where everybody was sitting at the table. So we had Nora and Ren and Ruby on the left, and then Yang, Weiss, and Jean on the right. I like, when I was watching my reaction, I immediately noticed that Jean was sitting next to Weiss. I pointed it out because I just found it interesting. Because we all know Jean had a massive crush on Weiss. Whether it's still relevant, I doubt it. But after everything that's happened and after Pyrrha, I doubt he's even given it much thought. And just sees her as more of a friend now. And, like,
Yeah.
there's a lot more to focus on at the moment with, like, you know, suddenly both Yang and Weiss are back and they haven't seen him in forever.
And Jean also has a little bit of, you know, murder in his soul.
Yes. Definitely. So they were discussing the Knuckleberry fight a lot here. And Nora called John Mr. Muscles, which I thought was kind of cute. Because he actually did quite well during that fight. He held his own, definitely. And he's grown a lot from the goofy kid who had no idea at the beginning of Volume 1. Curious that Yang and Ruby were separated. I mean, they were across the table from each other. And Ruby fangirled over the new arm. Yeah, we'll talk about that. But, Ruby was saying Ren was out of control during that fight, and he mistook that as to mean that he was out of control.
Which he was.
Like, I lost my temper, I'm sorry. Ren just takes everything so literally, and it's funny. Yeah, I loved his
And I just like the whole, like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. It's just funny. Hearing them all laugh a lot was nice too, especially Weiss, who, like, never gets to laugh at anything. I think the last time we heard her laugh at something was Volume 2. So, and her laugh is so cute. She goes, it's so cute. I'm like, I need to hear that more often. And, you know, she, I feel like these people bring out a lot more of the old Weiss and the old Yang. Definitely. Ruby is just always herself, but Yang and Weiss haven't been the same, certainly, since they were separated from these people. I want Weiss trying to make bad jokes again. She's so precious. She is precious. She's a precious cinnamon roll. Not quite to the extent that Ruby is, but it definitely brought out a lot of the old Weiss, in that she was still, like, rolling her eyes at them, and when Yang and Nora were arm wrestling,
that was the
like,
scene.
Oh my god, like, these people are so immature.
Yeah, that was the scene that really, like, got to me the most, was that I was just like, oh my god, like, it's back. That was when I was really back. Like, oh my god, it's back.
The dynamic is back.
Ruby's sitting there going, ee, and Weiss just standing next to her like, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
And Ruby's just like, come on, Weiss. And she's
Weiss,
still just
you're
like,
not cheering loud enough! It's so funny. You wear a skirt, Ruby. I loved that whole scene. Also, when they were doing that arm wrestle thing, Yang kind of projectiles her arm. I don't know how she does that exactly. But the expression on her face when she's looking at Nora and they're all like, oh, what just happened? She's got the weirdest, evilest grin on her face. And then when Nora freaks out and chucks it back at her, she just starts laughing, and Weiss is horrified. I'm like, my god, Yang has a really dark sense of humor about this arm. Like, something you knew was going to come into play. Yeah.
When she got her arm back and that laugh she did, I was like, okay.
Good lord, yeah, it was like a mad scientist kind of laugh. She's just so dark about it. It's really unsettling. But at least we know that, like, she's kind of accepted that this is, you know, her reality now, and why cry over it when you can laugh, I guess.
Yeah. I thought that laugh was really funny, though, but I was still just like, okay.
Yeah.
Jesus, Yang.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone was a bit like, okay, sure, yeah. Laugh. Okay. Weiss's face just made me giggle on the inside. She's just horrified. She's like, did you really just? Like, why are you laughing? This is not funny. And Nora got a couple of surprises during this episode. Firstly, when Weiss summoned her Borbatusk, which is good to see her doing that again, because the only time we saw the Borbatusk was during the party last volume, which she was just talking about. And for her to re-summon the Borbatusk to stick it in Nora's face is is nice to see, and also, you know, pretty funny. But Sam Ireland's bloody voice acting with those screeches. It's so funny. And then Alexa just twitching and Ren's just like sucked in. So funny. We don't see Ren laugh that often either, if at all. It's good to see him be a bit looser. And just kind of have a bit more fun and just be a bit more human even. Because he's always been so straight-faced. Like, we saw with the Knuckler V fight, him losing his temper, getting angry, showing emotions that he hasn't let himself show before. And now we're seeing him, like, be a bit more laid back and have a joke with his friends. It's nice. It's definitely rubbing off on everyone, having Yang and Weiss back. It's, like, created this atmosphere that hasn't been there for a long time. She summoned something other than the armor. She summoned the Boopcast during the party. That's why she did it again here. It was a reference to that.
Well, I think Willem's comment is more kind of a thing where it's like, you know, she's suddenly very good at it. But the reason I think that, I know that some people do have issues with Weiss and her summoning this volume, but I think the thing was that Weiss had, like, just kind of this weird mental block going on, as we saw in Volume 3. Yeah. And, like, at the end, she's only able to summon part of her armor out of, like, desperate emotion, pretty much. Yeah. But then at the end of Volume 4, she finally was able to fully summon on her own. And I feel like that finally let her get over the mental block of, yes, I can do this. And so now she can summon because, you know, she's gotten out of her head and she's not so much like, can I do this? How do I do this? And now she's just like, Boopcast, go! Yeah.
Her biggest problem was her mental barrier, thinking that I can't do this, this is too difficult, I don't know why I'm struggling so much with this, and then she's got past that, and it's suddenly like breathing. Or not really though, because we saw with the fight in Chapter 2 that it still takes a lot of concentration and mental effort for her to summon and control that armor, when it was fighting the Queen Lancer. She had to, you know, shut her eyes and really concentrate to do that. So, but with something like a Boopcast, which is significantly smaller, I can see why that would be easier. And yeah, it's just like, it's like anything. When you have a mental barrier, it's very, very difficult to do something that you think you can't do, but once you get past that, it's just very easy. And, like, at the moment, the Boopcast and the armor are all we've seen her summon, but she's fought a lot of Grimm. Like, she's fought Beowulf, she's fought an Evermore. Like, there are a lot of possibilities there that I feel like she hasn't tapped into just yet, because she hasn't really had the need to. The armor's pretty overpowered, so this is really the only thing she's ever gonna need, but we'll get to see her summoning evolve over time, of course. And
I mean, yeah, because right now, like, you know, she can summon one thing at a time, and granted, she can make the armor, like, bigger or smaller, but, you know, still, like, she's nowhere near the point that, like, we saw with Winter, where she's able to summon, like, hundreds of little Nevermores, like,
exactly.
Like, she's got a ways to go.
Yeah. Still hoping someone mentions Blake. Can we go on a field trip to grab her? We can have the Belladonnas live in the house and not dead. Gira's fucked. Just throwing that out there. I'm not sure about Carly. I feel like they can't kill Carly because the fandom will riot. But, and I don't see really the point, because she's not the focus. Gira's the focus for the White Fang. Because he's the chieftain, and Carly's just kind of there. She doesn't have any real influence or any drive related to the White Fang. Yeah, I think the stipulation of summoning is that it has to be a previous enemy that's pushed her to her limits. It's basically any enemy that she's defeated, to hear Winter describe it.
My impression was it had to be an enemy she defeated that left some kind of, mark on her as a person, where, like, you know, the night was obviously the turning point of her and her defiance against her dad, kind of, as we saw in the, like, Ruby comics, and with the Bayo, or with the Borbatusk, it was when she finally let go of I don't need to be the leader kind of thing. She was like, I don't need to be the best at being a leader. Like, that doesn't mean that I need to be head honcho. It just means I need to be the best at what I am, kind of. That's why the Borbatusk is there, I think. We talked about this last volume.
Yeah, I feel like it's related to her emotional state at the time. So the Borbatusk fight was highly charged emotionally, because Ruby's talking in her ear and she's getting annoyed, and she finally shouts at her, "Stop telling me what to do!" And like that, she's angry that she wasn't chosen as the leader. She doesn't understand why this little pipsqueak who can't even stay awake in class was chosen over her. And I feel like that's why the Borbatusk was something that she summoned much earlier on. And the armor, of course, was her test. We still don't know a lot about that test, unless you've read the manga. But I'm not sure I don't think it was Beacon's test. I think it was a test from her father, like, you have to do this or you're not going, kind of thing. But yeah, and obviously she got injured during that fight as well. So
yeah. I think that the implication of that fight was actually that he made the challenge like almost impossible for her, because he wanted to like break her kind of confidence in becoming a huntress and blah blah blah. If I remember the manga correctly, that was kind of the thing that happened, and then she still overcame that, and that's why it was such a big thing.
Plus she got hurt and she has a scar because of it, so it's left a physical mark on her. So it's no surprise that was the biggest hurdle that she had to overcome as far as her summoning was concerned. She obviously still thinks about it quite a lot. Yeah, I need to read the manga as well. I haven't read it, but what were we talking about? I can't remember now.
The Borbatusk and Nora twitching, and
that's right. And then the second time, Nora got a surprise was with that arm, and Sam just lets out this scream. She goes, "Ah!" It's so funny. I couldn't stop laughing. It's just really like it's not something we see Nora do. And it's just really funny to see her get freaked out by like holding this arm, and she's like, "Oh, that's disgusting." Have it back.
Yeah, because I just love the difference in the two screams. Is the first one is kind of like a "holy crap" kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the last one is like,
"I'm horrified. Have it back." Why you do this? So my biggest question is, obviously Yang and Nora have done this arm wrestling thing before. Who won last time? Because my money would still be on Yang.
My money would still be on Yang too. I saw a funny comment.
Struggle even with the new arm, but I suppose like it's not just like, she can't just go bam. It's reliant on it's not infinitely strong. Like when she punches someone, sure it hurts because it's made of fucking metal. It would hurt, but when she's like actually trying to physically use her own strength, she's still using her own bicep to drive that. So no, I'm saying they must have done. It wasn't on screen.
Yeah, because was it Weiss who said "not again" or something like that? Or...
Now is not the time. Yeah.
Or no, it was Nora who, I don't know, one of them implied that this had happened before.
Yeah, it was Weiss. She said, "Nora, please, now is not the time." Yeah. So obviously this is not a new thing for them. Yeah, so that was all very interesting. The nickname throwbacks I thought was really cute. Because once they've finished that enormous ramen bowl, I did like as well, while they were all talking, at certain points people had noodles coming out of their mouths, and Ren was putting tofu in his ramen. And Ruby had a little mushroom on the end of her chopsticks and it was flapping about. Thought that was really like really good, the way that they show. One issue I did have is at the very beginning, when they're all talking at the same time, Ruby is leaning up and she goes, "Duck sauce? Is there duck sauce over there? Thank you." And she sits back down without anyone having handed her the duck sauce. That bothers me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because obviously they scripted it that way and recorded it that way, but it was not animated that way. Very clearly. Nobody handed her any fucking duck sauce, but she says thank you like somebody did. I feel like they should have left the thank you out if they weren't going to animate the duck sauce. It's just a tiny thing, but it really, really bothers me. But the rest of it was very much really good. Like, Jean had noodles coming out of his mouth, and then Yang had noodles coming out of her mouth while Weiss was talking. And yeah, that whole incorporating the food into the action was very good, because we don't see people eat very often in this show, like, at all. So give Ruby her duck sauce 2017. What even is duck sauce? Is it made of duck? Like, I don't know what duck sauce is.
I've heard of it before. I've never had it, though.
I feel like it's just hoisin
I do know
sauce. Because that's the sauce that we use when we eat duck. But yeah, I don't know. It must. I don't fucking know what duck sauce is. It's an American thing, I feel like. Yeah. So, Weiss was talking about the party, and like, Ren and Nora and Ruby and Jean were talking about the Knuckler V fight, and there's a line that Jean has, and he says, "I couldn't have done it without Ruby wearing it down." And Weiss gives Ruby this look, and she smiles like, "Oh, I'm so proud of my leader." Like, so cute. Duck sauce secretly comes from Duck Grim. Yeah, so that whole dynamic was definitely really good to see them talking about past events, and like Weiss being embarrassed about her outburst during the party and being like, "Oh, I really wanted to give that lady a piece of my mind." You know?
Yeah.
Well, she sort of did, but it didn't quite escalate to the point it definitely could have, because she's more controlled than that. I feel like if Yang was in that situation, it would have gone very differently. But yeah, especially when she's like, please tell me you let that lady have it. And she's like, "No, of course not. I have more self-control than that, Yang." Yeah, so... And then Yang's kind of showing off her new arm, and Ruby's anime eyes were just so cute. And her eyes are just, like, enormous, and then she's, like, playing with it. There was a bit here where we hear Nora slam her elbow down on the table, and Yang's expression goes a bit, like, annoyed, but Ruby's eyes narrow so much, and she's like, like a deer in the headlights. It was... I'm just loving the facial expressions in this volume so far. They're really excellent. And then they're talking about, like, yeah, doing the nickname throwbacks, and Yang calls Jean Vomit Boy, and Nora calls Weiss the Ice Queen, but Weiss doesn't like... I was half expecting her to go, "Hey!" but she didn't. Instead, she just rolls her eyes, she's like, "I so did not miss you people." Yeah,
smiling the whole time.
Smiling, like, "Oh, I totally did, but I'm never going to admit it out loud." And then Nora's like, "What went and warmed your heart while you were gone?" And I felt like, she says, "You make it sound like I used to be terrible." And she kind of was, but at the same time, we saw her warmer side start to come out during the fall of Beacon, definitely. You know, she says to Blake, "Be safe," when she goes off to fight the alpha bear wolf, and then when Ruby finally turns up, she actually holds her hands and is like, "Where have you been? Like, we were worried," kind of thing. And then she you know, she's shocked and upset when she sees what happens to Yang, because, you know, her world is crumbling around her, and her teammates are being physically hurt, and Ruby's missing, and all of this shit is going on, and then Pyrrha and John are missing, and it's like, it's all happening, and she definitely, I feel like she feels her world crumbling around her at that moment.
Yeah.
The thing is, she doesn't realize that the worst is yet to come, because her father comes and grabs her and takes her back home, and that's like a worst nightmare.
Yeah, because I think that we just progressively over the volume saw her get warmer and warmer and warmer.
Yeah.
But it took the whole separating her from them and being back in her situation, and against her will and everything, that finally made her be like, kind of like, I screw you, and I, when she's finally back with her friends, she's finally just like, I miss this so much.
Yeah.
And that's, why she like probably still wants to be a little bit like, hey, but at the same time is like, I'm so glad you guys are right there.
Yeah, exactly. I'll never say it out loud, but like, she kind of does. When she hugs Yang, she says, I missed you so much. And you really feel that line when she says that. Like, she has obviously... It's one of those things where, like, you don't know what you have until it's gone. She never truly appreciated what she had while she was at Beacon, and when it was taken from her, she realized how much it meant to her and how much those people meant to her. So when she finally gets them back, she's like, I am not ever letting go of this ever again. And I definitely feel like she feels these people are her family more so than her actual family. Maybe Winter is an exception, but... absence makes the heart grow fonder, exactly. And yeah, she knows now what she has, and she knows how bad things can get, and what exactly they're risking, and that life on the outside just isn't as good as what she has with these people. So I feel like she's gonna do her best not to lose this again. And I can see that Cory's being interrupted right now, so I'm gonna keep talking. Yeah, she definitely is in this headspace where, like, she is back where she really wants to be, and she's not gonna let that go without a fight.
I'm back.
Yes. So, yeah, and like Young Bro said, it was nice to see them all acknowledging their past mistakes. When Ren talks about, like, think back to how you were at Beacon, would you say you were perfect or did you do some stupid shit? And Weiss is immediately like, oh my god, I was just terrible. And Yang, she's like, I was a little gung-ho from time to time, but we saw her conversation with Tai about that. And then Ruby says, I tried to 1v1 and Nevermore on the second day of school. And it is nice to see Ruby especially acknowledging her past recklessness and how stupid it was of her to do that, just to try and prove a point. And, she is smarter than that now. And I thought it was interesting that when Ren says you're smarter or kinder or stronger, for smarter it showed Ruby, for kinder it showed Weiss, and stronger it showed John. And that's definitely how we feel about all of their developments as characters. Weiss is definitely kinder, Ruby is definitely smarter, and John is definitely stronger. So, and yeah, it was just a nice thing for them to reminisce about their time at Beacon, but also realize, hey, we did some pretty stupid shit. We didn't know anything back then, and we're all wiser and better now because of it. Better fighters, stronger people, and definitely more wise to exactly the state that the world is in, and what exactly they're walking into here. I think they're all very aware of that, but they're doing it anyway because they're good fucking people.
Yeah.
And they really do want to try and save the world. They've still got that idea in their heads. Yeah, so they do this funny little quip calling back to the dance, where Nora was like, well, actually, I think I was pretty alright in school. Nora's probably the one who's changed the least out of all of them. Even Ren's done more developing than she has. We've seen her go to her low points during the Knuckler V fight, in tears, being like, trying to stop Ren essentially from killing himself, trying to defeat this Grim. But she always bounces back straight up to where she was before. her character never really changes. She goes through these moments, but she never really changes. And Yang says, like, even at the dance when you spill punch all over yourself, and then she starts playing Shine on her scroll. I was like, okay, that's really funny and cute, but at the same time, I'm about to cry. Turn that off. Like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any of it. It just reminds me of Kira.
Also, that scene made me think that, like, Nora was a little bit embarrassed, and that's why I was kind of like, Nora? Showing an emotion?
Yes, especially at the dance. Thank you, Yang! She really
also,
pronounces the G in Yang as well.
Yeah, I also didn't know Nora could talk that fast.
Yeah.
Because it was like, for Nora, it was fast. I was like, whoa.
Really, though? I mean, like, if you think back to the premiere of Volume 3, when she's talking about, if Team Juniper were to lose their fight in the tournament, she talks really fast. So yeah, she's just full of energy, but
but still, it was just different for Nora because it was you know,
it was different. Yeah. Yeah. So and then Crow comes out and he's a party pooper, of course. But I loved his line here, like, how can 6 kids possibly make so much noise eating dinner? And they're all just like, sorry, not sorry. We literally haven't seen each other in a year. We've got catching up to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
I also really liked the line that after Ren finished talking about all this stuff with them growing and stuff, and Ruby goes, yeah, it turns out when he talks, he likes to get really sentimental.
Yeah. And really
they all laughed, and I loved Ren's smile there. I was just like, oh.
He's like, I know. Yeah, he's just like, every time he says anything, it's just so profound. It's like Mr. Miyagi. And yeah, it's funny to hear them acknowledge these things out loud. The characters' different quirks and that kind of thing. Yeah, so Crow and Oz come out in their bloody party poopers, and I'm glad they skipped the whole explanation thing, because we do not need to hear that a third time.
Yeah.
But Weiss and Yang being let in on the whole sort of Maidens and Salem thing goes very differently for each of their characters. Weiss is a bit more, I don't want to say willing to accept it, but she's definitely more reasonable a person than Yang is. Yang is just straight up pretty damn angry that her family is involved in this.
I think that Weiss was more, like, shocked, because she was so skeptical, and she was like, this lady's crazy. And now from people that, like, other people trust and stuff, and, you know, like, these people who are arguably a more trustworthy source than Raven are saying the same shit.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she's just like, oh my god, like, what?
It's actually
so that's why
true,
yeah, she was so kind of like, just what? Whereas Yang was like, oh my god, my mom was right, kind of a thing. And that's why she was so angry, because she was like, you know, she understands that there's some weird other truth in the middle of all this that is why Raven left and is why all this stuff is happening. And I think that's what made her the most angry.
I feel like also she doesn't understand why Crow can just so readily accept what Ozpin did to him, because her mother was so adverse to it. It's interesting because she's come from the opposite point of view to everybody else, where she's met her mother first, and her mother has, like, talked about it like it was a bad thing, but then she comes back to Crow and he's like, actually, we chose this, we knew what this meant, and it was our decision, and, yeah, you don't get angry at Ozpin, because, you know, we could have easily said no, and we didn't. Actually, your mother is just an angry bitch. You know, like, kind of thing. And but she's coming from the opposite perspective, where she's spoken to Raven first. So, yeah, it was interesting to see her reaction to that. And she's like, she says straight to Ozpin's face, like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, oh, God.
Ooh, I was like, ooh, too, because I was like, ooh.
And then Crow's like,
you are messing with a god.
Excuse you. Don't speak to him like that.
when Crow did that, I was also like, Crow, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
She has a right to be pissed off.
She has a right to be angry. Her family is involved in this, and like now I feel like she's mostly angry because now Ruby's caught up in this too, and and that was, maybe she sees that as like Crow's doing or Osmond's doing to tangle her sister up in this, and now that means she's also tangled up in it because where her sister goes, Yang goes too. So yeah. Crow takes the form of a dusty old crow and Raven takes the form of a bitchy ass raven. Yeah. So at first, like, Team Ranger aren't really willing to accept that they can turn into, like, Ren is like, you turn them into birds. Like, he's like, seriously? And they're like, you expect us to believe that?
Yeah. I think it's especially because, you know, unlike Nora, Ren immediately got, you turned Crow and Raven into birds. Like, how cliche.
Yeah, exactly.
This must be a joke.
Yeah. And Nora's like, okay, you're just messing with us. And Jean says, what else is new? He clearly resents being in this situation. I think he resents it mostly because he knows now that it was the reason Pyrrha died. And he can't get past that. I feel like he probably, to a lot of extent, blames Ozpin for Pyrrha's death. And he can't really get past it. So, which is understandable because essentially, Ozpin did kill Pyrrha by asking her to be the full maiden. That just put the nail in her coffin.
Yeah, that's right. I wish I could go back and rewatch the scene where, right now, where the, like, they find out that Ozpin turned them into birds and stuff, and that, like, Crow's like, well, we could have said no. Like, I feel like that'll be a big, that moment for Jean where it was like, well, Pyrrha could have said no too to what Ozpin was asking, but he presented it in such a way where it was, you know, if you don't do this, the world will die, kind of. And I feel like he probably would have a similar situation with Crow and Raven, which is probably why Raven accepted at first and is now very adverse to it. And so it's kind of why I feel like Raven and Jean are in the same place, whereas like Crow and Pyrrha were kind of coming from the same place in that situation.
The thing is, though, Raven talks about it like it's such a bad thing, but she obviously uses it to her advantage and to her tribe's advantage to go out and murder innocent people and steal all their shit. Like, she's such a hypocrite. I just can't get, like, she is such a hypocrite. I can't stand it. She, like, makes everyone else to be these terrible people and, oh, look what Ozpin did to me and my brother and your uncle's a fool and your father's a fool, but really she kills people as her day job. Like, fuck off. You've got no right to call anybody else a bad person. You're a bad person. Yeah, really.
Also, this just made me think of this.
Exactly.
That I didn't think about, but I wish we had seen the moment where, or even if Yang said, like, asking Crow, did you really go to Beacon to learn to kill Huntsmen?
Yeah,
like, I would like to see that moment between Crow and Ruby. Like, Ruby getting that information about Crow.
I feel like Yang doesn't want to say that in front of Ruby. Because she doesn't want to... Because, you know, protectively of her little sister, she doesn't want to tarnish Ruby's opinion of their uncle. Because Ruby kind of idolizes him. So,
yeah, but also, as we see in this scene, she's, like, just fucking done with lying. And she's like, stop lying to people, like...
Stop lying to us if we're going to risk our lives for you. Yeah, exactly. But even, like, when Ruby hears about the bird thing, she says, Uncle? To Crow, like, you know, and it's... She's just so innocent still. And I feel like Yang might mention that to Crow when Ruby's not in the room, I feel like. But they need to address it. It's not something they can drop and then not address. Crow is Ruby's idol, it'd break her. Yeah, exactly. She idolizes Crow. So for her to learn that her uncle went to an academy to learn how to kill other huntsmen when she wanted to be a huntsman and he trained her to be a huntsman, would break her brain, I think, where her uncle is concerned. Yeah, so I lost my train of thought. Yeah, Yang is just fed up with all of the lying, and she's like, we're risking our lives for you. Tell us the frickin' truth, which is a reasonable thing to ask. And she has every right to be angry at this whole situation, and all of the crap that's been kept from not only them but from the rest of the world, and like all the secretiveness and all of that's been going on behind closed doors. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot for somebody to take in at once. Yeah, of course Oz is still hiding things. He's not going to just lay it all out on the table immediately. Oh, the big confirmation we got this chapter that we haven't talked about yet. Ozpin is the wizard. So I was surprised at how casually they dropped that information.
I know. It felt like an end of the episode thing, because when I was thinking back on this episode, before I rewatched it, I was like, yeah, there was a whole confirmation of the, like, wizard thing, and then it cut to the final scene with Emerald and Mercury. But no, that scene goes on for another minute and a half, and I was like...
Yeah. It's just in
wow,
there. Yeah.
It's so casual that, you know... the thing we've all been waiting for since the beginning of time, like... Yeah. And they finally confirm it, and it's so nonchalant.
It is nonchalant, yeah. He says, I sacrificed a great deal of my power to 4 young women in the hopes that they would something or other. I don't remember what he said exactly, but...
So hopes they would use it for good.
Yeah, in the hopes that they would use it for good. And that backfired, of course it did. But, well, it didn't totally backfire. It did later, but it is backfiring now, definitely. Yeah, since Vinal's the opposite of the original Spring, we don't know that for certain. That's speculation. We don't know what the original Spring was like, and we don't know how deep Vinal's character goes.
I mean, we do know that, like, the virtue that Ozpin saw in the original Spring Maiden from the Spring Maiden, or from the Maiden's World of Remnant.
Yeah, before she gained her power.
That's true.
Who knows
what
happened after that?
Yeah, that's true.
And also, we don't know the depth of Vinal's character either.
Yeah.
She's
also,
been
didn't
raised
we
by
get
bandits, for God's sake? So it's no wonder she's kind of a bitch.
Yeah. Didn't we get confirmation though that the Winter Maiden is the one that guards the Atlas relic? Wasn't that in?
No.
Actually, now I'm trying to think of it. Do we know which relic goes to which school? I mean, we know which one is in...
He said, oh, no, well, he said which maiden goes with which relic, but not which relics go to which schools. So we know that Spring and Knowledge are for Mistral. And Fall and Choice were for Beacon. So that leaves Destruction and Creation and Winter and Summer.
Yeah, but it makes sense that the Creation would be... Or that the Destruction would be in Vacuo because of the Great War and the desert.
And that's the Summer Maiden. So Destruction and Summer go together. So Vacuo makes sense, and then Winter and Creation and Atlas. Yeah, it would just make the most sense. Yeah, of course. I don't doubt that one of the original Maidens eventually went rogue. Yeah, it's entirely possible. Who knows what receiving all of that power did to them? So we've seen what it's done to people now, like what it did to what it almost did to Pyrrha, and what it sort of did to Cinder when she only got part of it. She described it like it was an emptiness, like hunger. And even like once she got all of the power, Salem talks about having a crippling weakness that goes with it, and she was, seriously injured by Ruby's silver eyes. But yeah, who knows what it does to them. Essentially, they're receiving part of somebody else's soul. So, yeah, who the fuck knows what that does to them. Yeah. Yeah,
that was the other thing that Ozpin finally talked about why he turned the Bronwyns into birds, and it makes a lot of sense for what we know about Crow now. Is that he needed them for recon. Like, he needs somebody who could keep an eye on Salem's plan, which, what did we know about that Crow was doing before Volume 3? He was keeping an eye on Salem's plan. And also he was guarding the
maidens,
guarding the maidens. And that's what they were meant to do, is they were meant to, once they were meant to find new maidens once the power transferred, and they were meant to keep an eye on Salem's thing. Which makes sense then why Raven got a hold of Spring.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because, like, she ran away and she was immediately like, oh, look, my training has led me to you.
Yeah, so, and, like, I've always wondered how Crow got to Amber when she was being attacked. But it makes more sense now. Especially if, like, he was keeping an eye on the maidens. Yeah, I always wondered how he got there. But now I'm like, what took him so fucking long? Seriously. He barely made it in time to save Ruby as well. I was like, geez, Crow, you're bad at your job, man. You only just make it. But he didn't.
You might say he has some bad luck.
Oh my god. Bad timing.
That too.
I don't see Amber as running off. I feel like she was probably doing her own thing to keep a low profile. And Crow was just sort of keeping an eye on where she was at and what she was doing. He could have been busy at the time, who knows. But, yeah, what the hell were we on before that? Oh, Oz says to them, you know, they're like, what do we do now? And he says, look, don't worry about it today. Take the rest of the night to catch up because you guys haven't seen each other in forever. And he puts his hand on Yang's shoulder and Yang kind of smiles at him. So I was like, okay, yeah, calm down, Yang. It's all good. Oh, and she said, before that, she says, if Ruby hangs around, I will too. She always knows the right thing to do. And I'm like, yeah, that's true about Ruby. She always seems to know what is the right thing to do. Even when there's an impossible decision to be made. And then Oscar freaks out because girls. Yeah, well, I mean, that would be such a weird situation for Oscar. Not so much for Ozpin because he's gone through it before, but yeah, I can't imagine how strange this whole thing would be for Oscar.
I just also, the moment when he talked about how he did that, when Ozpin confirmed that he had done that to Crow and Raven, and you can hear Oscar in his head go, what?
Yeah. What the heck? I'm sorry? Why? Yeah. He's just like, at this point, I'm surprised that he's surprised when he learns these things.
Yeah. But we don't necessarily know exactly how their, like, you know,
thing works. Yeah.
Thing works. Because it seems like right now, like, even Oscar, he, like, has the memories there, but he doesn't actively access them.
Yeah, he's not sure. He doesn't know how to access them unless he's prompted. Like when they were talking about the office at Mistral, he was prompted to remember that. So, but they are there. Yeah, like you said, he just needs to be prompted. There's thousands of years of memories to sift through. Like that's a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
It kind of reminds me of the whole spoilers for Game of Thrones season 7. The whole Brandon starred Three-Eyed Raven kind of thing. Like it's all there. He just doesn't know how to access it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes he needs to be prompted. Yeah, so I thought it was funny how when Oscar freaks out about his hand being on Yang's shoulder, that Yang and Weiss just laugh at him. It's just kind of cute. I think they definitely all see Oscar as this little cinnamon roll that they need to protect kind of thing. Like, oh, he's so cute. Because he's significantly younger than all of them, so...
I still wish we'd also seen the moment where they told Weiss and Yang, see that little boy over there? Ozpin. Yeah. And Oscar, but also Ozpin.
I mean, I imagine their reaction would have been kind of similar to everyone else's reaction with, like, come again? Kind of thing. Because that was not mentioned to them. Although Raven spoke about Ozpin like he was still alive, and they weren't aware that Ozpin had been killed. Like, they didn't know what happened to him. So, they were definitely more out of the loop. So, Oz said that giving Crow and Raven took a lot of time and resources, yet the power it took was deemed minuscule. Yeah. And he spoke about his power dwindling as well. After all this time, it's not a surprise. We don't know exactly how old he is, but he talks about being alive for centuries. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I imagine that, like, everything he does, he has to think about, like, not just now, but he's like, if I fail, you know, I need to make sure that this can help me in the future. And that's why I think that, like, you know, that's why it made so much sense to me that that Ozpin was the wizard, because of the, like, locked relics. The relics are locked, only maidens can access them, and we know that Ozpin was the king of Vale, or, well, we don't know, but connect the dots and you get there.
It looks very likely, yeah.
Yeah, if you connect all the dots, it makes too much sense.
Yeah.
I've talked about that before, but like, it makes so much sense that everything that Ozpin has to do, it has to, like, he can't just think about, what if I don't stop Salem this time? Because, like, it seems like Salem keeps winning, or at the very least they keep stalemating, kind of.
Yeah. He's still around and he's still fighting, so he's doing something.
Because it's like humanity's still around, but so are the Grimm, so, like...
Yeah, exactly. They're at kind of an impasse at the moment. Trying to gain ground over the other constantly. Sam says, the fact Raven said people can come back from the dead directly mentions Ozpin without name drops. Yeah, the interesting thing, though, is she said people. Plural. Bless you. More than one. She said, I know people that can come back from the dead. Plural. Who else does she know that can come back from the dead? Is my question.
Not Summer.
No. Clearly. I'm of the mind that Summer is definitely dead. Something terrible happened there. Yeah, I still have so many questions about Team Stark. All of us do. They're deliberately not answering them. They're saving it. And I'm annoyed.
Yeah, I'm annoyed too, especially because I was like, damn it. It seems like the opportunity for them to give us any more Stark information is now past. So I'm like,
Yes. And yeah, Salem definitely has the upper hand, and if, like, the end of this episode is any indicator, they're about to grab Vernal. So, yeah. We need a Stark spin-off season at one point to get everything. Yeah, no kidding. There's a lot of unaccounted for time, and, like, I would be interested in seeing Team Stark, you know, as teenagers in Beacon. I'd be interested in seeing Raven and Crow go from going there to learn how to kill Huntsman to helping Ozpin out to one of them staying and one of them going. That entire thing could be its own story. And I'm like, I need to know what went on with all of this. Yeah.
And it's annoying that they're not telling us shit about it.
No! I need to know everything! I'm like, I know there's 4 volumes left at least, but tell me everything. Yeah, so what was I gonna say before I said that? Yeah, so the end of the episode, final scene. Mercury and Emerald are back. Yay!
Yay!
Finally! Oh my gosh, I've missed them. Mercury's eyebrows are still fucked.
Yeah.
They still look really weird. And he still sounds a bit weird too. I feel like Yuri's been out of the character for a while now, and he sounds different voicing him, definitely. Watts was there, which surprised me, because I thought he was going back to make Tyrion a new tail.
Well, no, because she said that in episode 3 or 2, whatever episode that they were in, she said, Cinder, gather your team and meet Watts.
Oh, she did, yeah.
To convince Raven Branwen it's in her best interest, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. But before that, she says to Watts, Tyrion is in need of a new tail. Which made me think, like, it's just confusing.
Yeah, but, I mean, granted, like, Cinder still needed to get there, so he had time to do that.
Yeah.
Or at least start doing that, whatever the hell he's doing.
So, I'm like...
I noticed that too, young bro. Do you notice in the end credits that Shady Man is now credited as Shay D. Man?
Yes, I noticed it. I had talked about that in my reaction.
I did too. I literally went, come on, Rooster Teeth.
Yeah, like seriously. I feel like we're not going to get to see the conflict at the bandit camp. I feel like the way they're going to do it is that once Crow and company are ready to go over there, it's already going to be a mess. And they'll be like, what the hell happened to Raven? And Raven will be like, these 4 crazy fuckers came in and took Vernal. And they'll be like, whoa, god damn it.
Or we're going to get something like what happened during the flashback episode of season 3, where it'll just like show basically like the camp in flames and Raven and Vernal speaking with them. Because once again, they're not here to take her by force necessarily. They're here to convince Raven it's in her best interest to hand Vernal over. So,
yes,
you know,
they kind of go in pretty aggressively. So I'm like, meh. I don't know. I feel like they're just gonna try and take it by force.
Well, but the only problem is that they get into a maiden fight, you know, who knows what happens then. Especially because, arguably, I mean, Vernal has 10 years on Cinder. Like, Vernal could win easily.
It's true.
Especially if she has Raven fighting with her and all these bandits. Like, you know, I mean, it's like 50 people on 4. And so it's like, it would be actually in their best interest to at least try and, you know, probably use a little bit of force at first, but that's only enough force to get her attention, kind of.
I mean, though, we saw what Cinder's capable of before her accident, at least. But we saw her fight Osborn. She killed Osborn, so... And he's the most powerful person that we knew of, so... yeah, it could be interesting maiden-on-maiden action here, for want of a better word. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure they're going to show us what's going to happen there. If they do, I'll be surprised. And it's definitely not going to be in Chapter 8. They'll leave it for a week now, I think. Also, I don't think there's going to be an episode this weekend.
Yeah.
Ruby Rewind is today, so we'll know today whether there's going to be a chapter or not. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's actually should be live now. She forced Raven and held Roman's life ransom. That's true.
But still, she can't, like, as Salem said, she can't use, like, she asked her, why can't we just take things by force? And she said, never underestimate the usefulness of others. So it's like, you know, if she pushes too hard, these people will push back, kind of.
Exactly.
Like, she still needs these people to want to, like, help her, even if it is because they're scared of her. But if she's too forceful, these people will be like, you know, monster, kind of, and fight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so...
Plus, also, Raven and Vernal are not pushovers. Like,
No.
Roman was a pushover, and Adam is, like... Adam's just... He saw, like, ooh, my chance. A powerful friend.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, his ultimate ambition was to lead the White Fang, so he realized he would need powerful friends to accomplish that. Yeah, so, well, not even friends, more like associates. Adam is disturbed, yeah, that's a vast understatement. Yeah, that pretty much wraps up the whole episode. Excuse me, yawning. Is there anything we missed? I don't think there is.
The only thing I still have in my notes is that I didn't like the Ozpin when he was in the beginning of the scene where all of them were talking, where and Yang asks, "You forgot the part where you what you did to Crow and my mother."
Yeah.
And he goes, you know, I didn't think Raven would give up that secret so easily. She must trust you a lot. I was like, that's not okay to say, dude.
No.
Because it felt like just like such a blatant manipulation of Yang and her kind of sort of mommy issues and stuff, and I was just like that's not cool, Ozpin.
Yeah, exactly. There will be a break at some point, Sam. The question is when.
There's gonna be because they're gonna schedule it out so they can show the premiere, or the premiere will be the finale. Yeah.
RTX Sydney. Yeah.
Which is the 3rd of February.
Year. Yeah. The 3rd and 4th, I believe it is, but they'll show it on the 3rd. Yeah.
So.
Because it would usually premiere at 2:30 a.m. on the 4th for us. So we'll see it on the 3rd at 6 p.m. or something.
So if we want that, there needs to be at least
3 weeks.
At least 3 weeks of break.
Yeah. Which I feel like they're going to do over the Christmas gap.
You think it's going to be a 3-week Christmas? I think it's going to be, we're going to get one this week, and then we're going to see up through episode 10 or maybe 11, and then they'll give us a 2-week break.
Over Christmas and New Year's.
Over Christmas, especially because I feel like what they're going to do is they're going to basically... they're going to do the 2-week break right before the Fall of Haven happens, because they're probably going to need some of that break. Partially for Christmas, but also partially because it's going to be a big and combat intense set of episodes, and they're going to need the extra time to polish it.
Yeah. And also, we've got the holiday chibi episodes, so I feel like there'll be a 2-week break. We'll get the holiday chibis, and then we'll go back into Ruby proper in the new year. So, but there has to be 3 weeks of break, or it doesn't coincide with RTX Sydney. So, but the question is, when are they happening? I really wish they would just give us a fucking schedule. A few over Christmas and maybe one in chapter 10, 11. Yeah. Isn't the one we just had one of the holiday ones? No, it wasn't. It was an extra one. It was just...
Wasn't it?
No, it wasn't a holiday episode.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just it didn't say holiday themed on the stretch goals, but we know that there are a couple of holiday episodes coming. But that wasn't one of them.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Because it felt like a Black Friday episode.
Yeah, but it wasn't a holiday episode. It was basically a 3-minute long advertisement, but there are a couple more holiday themed ones coming. That was on the Extra Life stretch goals, was for chibi episodes in the holiday season, but it didn't necessarily say holiday themed.
I just figured that it would, because it sounded like we would be getting 2 new episodes, was the impression I got.
Yeah, that was the impression I got as well.
And since we ended 2 episodes in their normal, the Chibi season 1 was 24 episodes long, and since this one is listed, since the one that just came out was listed as episode 23 of season 2, I was like, oh, it makes sense. So they're going to finish Chibi out to have 24 episodes in its season with the holiday episodes. That's the impression I got.
Because that Chibi episode came out the same week as a Ruby proper, I'm all thrown off because I'm like, I was sure that they were going to do the Chibis during the off weeks, but they decided not to.
Yeah,
I have no fucking idea what's going on. It's annoying.
Rooster Teeth, tell us your schedule.
I know, it's so annoying. I don't know why they won't just tell us, because it makes it very difficult for us to schedule the podcast, especially when we have other people on. I haven't been able to schedule the second half because I don't know what's fucking happening this week, whether we're getting an episode or not. So I'll have to schedule it at the last minute. Well, today probably, when I find out what's going on, if there's a chapter this weekend or not. Yeah, well, it wasn't a Thanksgiving related chibi episode though. The Ruby proper sort of touched on that. The schedule's stressing me out too. I don't know when the breaks are happening. I need to know these things. So it would have made sense for them to have had a break last week when everybody went home for Thanksgiving, but they didn't do that. Not only did they not do that, they released a chibi as well as a Ruby proper. So I'm like, what? Makes no sense. Yeah. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, as soon as I know something, you guys will know something. So, but I have no idea at the moment. I'll keep my eyes and ears open after Ruby Rewind today to find out when the next episode is going up. In fact, I'm gonna see if they're still live at the moment.
I looked a little bit ago and I didn't see that they were live.
Because Barbara tweeted earlier that she was gonna be on it. Soon, I think she tweeted. Or have they already wrapped up?
They might have already wrapped up.
Because it's not very long, is it? It's like 30 minutes long, so we could have missed it altogether.
Let's see, Ruby Rewind. I think we actually might have just straight up missed it altogether.
Yeah, it's probably already been. But yeah, I will... yeah, I will keep my eye on that, and I'll tweet about it later when I know what's going on. I just checked the Reddit thread, and everyone mentioned this week's episode. So there is a chapter this week. Oh my god, what is going on with the breaks this year? Seriously. It would be nice if they would just tell us what's going on, because now I have to last minute schedule people for the Boopcast next week.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what's happening beyond that. Okay, so I suppose if there's a Ruby this weekend, there will be a Boopcast next week, but you guys will just have to keep an eye on my Twitter to know what's going on with that. I'll post on there as soon as I hear any news of what's going on. And I've got to message everybody with schedules now, so that's going to be fun. Yeah, so that about wraps up the episode. That was a very short podcast. It was less than an hour long.
Yeah. We talked more than I thought we would.
Yeah.
Oh, the one thing we haven't done is we haven't made predictions for episode 8.
Oh, predictions. Yeah, right. So, it's a bit hard this week. Definitely Blake.
I think it's going to be all Blake focused.
Yeah, it's going to be very Blake central.
But I don't think we're going to see the terrible event yet.
No.
It's going to be something revolving around Blake.
Yeah, it's gonna involve Ilya as well, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blake and Ilya focused. Beyond that, I'm not entirely sure. Probably not a lot else apart from that. I feel like it's going to be another short one. Probably as short as this one even.
Yeah. Although this, from what we've heard, this was the shortest episode in the season.
Yeah.
So.
It didn't feel that short though. Like there was a fair bit in there to make it feel not as short, but it definitely, it was very, very focused on the main group, and then a tiny bit of the villains and Mercury and Emerald coming back. So they did enough with it to make it feel full, but yeah, definitely could tell that it was quite short. It's not a lot of different scenes going on. Yeah, so Blake Central this week.
Yeah. I think the episode will probably end with something happening that will tease us towards the bad event happening with Blake's family. Or even we'll only see the start of it maybe, and we'll see kind of then Ilya's second thoughts or something. But I mean, Blake's story has to get moving because she has to be able to be in Haven by episode 12.
And that's 4 episodes away, so she better crack the hell on. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I think we're going to have a few Blake Central focused episodes in the next 3-4ish.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's definitely something needs to happen in her story to get her ass in gear, because she's kind of just dawdling around at the moment. Being like, oh, nobody wants to sign my petition. Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Let's sit down and drink coconut water and have a conversation about this. Like, get the fucking move on, Blake, for God's sake. Yeah, I wouldn't mind the attack on Belladonna home happening next episode. I don't think it will. I feel like they need build-up for that. And
they need a little bit of build-up.
They set up this, Ilya befriending Blake to distract her kind of thing, so they need to show that and then the attack on the Belladonna home will happen after that. So this will be build up, this chapter, I think, to that event. Yeah, there's gonna be some kind of thing between Blake and Ilya here. Yeah. So
I'm looking on the Ruby Reddit right now, and I'm not seeing like anyone saying anything about a new episode. Although, granted, I'm not very good at Reddit, but I don't see anything about an upcoming episode or anything.
Let's have a look here. That's volume 4. Yeah, I'm gonna have a look later, but there's a bloke that usually puts up videos after the rewind about the new chapter coming up, so I'll keep an eye out for that and try and avoid spoilers at the same time. Yes, but anyway, so if there's a chapter this weekend, obviously there'll be a Boopcast next week, and we'll be having some people on for that. There's a couple of people who are first in line, but we've got plenty of people left for the rest of the volume. We just need to know when the fucking breaks are happening so we can get everybody scheduled in. It was in the rewind thread, apparently, on Reddit. Which was spoilers for the preview, though. Dang it.
Yeah, I just want to know, like, I want to know if there was a preview, but I don't want to see the preview.
No, exactly, yeah. Yes.
And I'll just wait for the video, the rewind archive to go up. That should go up in a few hours, right?
No, it takes like 2 days.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it doesn't go up for ages. Ugh. It's annoying. Alright, so anyway, we'll wrap this up now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Obviously, there's no Icebreaker this week because there's no pupil on. So, yeah, but I'll pop...
Are you saying we aren't people?
Other people that aren't us.
We're androids.
We're not people. We're fangirls. Yeah, so if there's a chapter this weekend, there'll be a Boopcast next week. Follow my Twitter to stay updated. And yeah, I gotta go do some research and some scheduling now, I think. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next week. SheNoob and Cory confirmed Grim. Bye!
Bye!